I paused in the marble corridor outside Marcus's private office, my hand hovering over the brass doorknob. The aromatic coffee I prepared, his favorite Ethiopian blend, steamed in the porcelain cup I held. I hadn't intended to eavesdrop, but the urgency in his voice froze me in place. Listen, father, you need to understand my position. Elena has become complicated. My heart seized. That single word, complicated, hung in the air like acid rain. His voice continued, each syllable a blade. She doesn't comprehend our circle. At the charity galas, she's perpetually anxious. She lacks the finesse for networking. Truthfully, marrying her was a strategic error. Your warnings were accurate. His father's voice boomed through the speaker. We attempted to caution you, Marcus. These creative personalities don't belong in our ecosystem. Interior design is acceptable as a pastime, but she treated it with excessive seriousness. A sterling wife has obligations. And candidly, Marcus added, I could hear him pacing. She's hindering my advancement. The Vandermeer partnership. They expected someone more refined, more cosmopolitan. Having Elena at these business dinners has become awkward. His mother's voice sliced through razor sharp. What's your strategy, Marcus? I'm developing a solution, he replied. Give me some time. I'll resolve this situation. I stood motionless for precisely 12 seconds. My pulse should have been racing. Tears should have been streaming. Instead, something crystalline and clarifying washed over me like ice water. Understanding. After 6 years of marriage, of contorting myself into impossible shapes to fit his world, of sacrificing my professional dreams, of enduring his parents' calculated criticisms and his growing detachment, I finally saw clearly. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. I descended the stairs silently, footsteps soundless on the imported Italian marble. In the gourmet kitchen, I prepared fresh coffee with mechanical precision. My hands remained perfectly steady. When Marcus appeared 18 minutes later, I presented him with a warm smile. Coffee? I asked, tone light and pleasant. Sure, he responded, barely making eye contact. Guilt perhaps. Or simple indifference. Your parents called, I said casually, pouring the dark liquid into his cup. They've requested our presence for Sunday brunch. They mentioned something about an important family discussion. He looked startled. You want to attend? Naturally, I said, meeting his gaze directly. Why wouldn't I? That week, I navigated my days with newfound clarity. I researched extensively. I contacted Miranda, my former college roommate who'd become one of Manhattan's most formidable divorce attorneys. I shared everything. She listened intently, documented meticulously, and smiled knowingly. Elena, she said with quiet confidence, you're going to emerge from this magnificently. But Elena wasn't just planning to emerge. She was about to orchestrate the most calculated revelation the Sterling family had ever witnessed. And it would all unfold over Sunday brunch. I also initiated something else that transformed everything. I began examining our financial records with forensic precision. Marcus had always controlled the finances, insisting I needn't burden myself with such complexities. But I possessed complete access to every account, every transaction, every secret. What I discovered was illuminating in the most devastating way. Charges at exclusive Manhattan restaurants where I'd never dined, boutique hotels in Brooklyn, jewelry purchases I'd never received, flowers I'd never seen arranged in our penthouse. All within the previous 9 months, all charged to our shared accounts. On Wednesday afternoon, I visited our private bank. I established my independent account. I transferred precisely half of our joint savings, my rightful portion. I was legally entitled to it. On Friday I went shopping, but not for groceries or household items. I purchased a dress for Sunday's brunch. Not the conservative style Marcus's mother would endorse. Not muted beige designed to help me disappear into expensive wallpaper. I bought a crimson dress. Vibrant, bold, breathtaking. I purchased it because it made me feel powerful. Saturday morning, Marcus departed early for a yacht club meeting with potential investors. I utilized those precious hours to pack essential belongings into designer luggage and transport them to a climate-controlled storage facility across town. Photographs from my life before him. My design portfolio showcasing my award-winning residential projects. My sketchbooks filled with unrealized dreams. Things that belong solely to me. That evening, he inquired if everything was all right. I'm exceptional, I replied. And I genuinely was. Sunday arrived with crystalline blue skies and temperatures in the low 70s. Perfect weather for revelations. I prepared meticulously, deliberately. I applied makeup with artistic precision. I slipped into the crimson dress. I studied my reflection in the floor-length mirror. I looked like someone who knew exactly who she was. Finally, "You look striking," Marcus commented when I descended our floating staircase. He sounded genuinely surprised. "Thank you," I responded simply. The drive to his parents' Hamptons estate required 90 minutes. Marcus kept stealing glances at me throughout the journey. I gazed out the window, contemplating my interior design concepts. The wellness center I'd been developing before Marcus convinced me to take a break from my career. The renderings remained in my storage unit, preserved and waiting. The Sterling estate exceeded every expectation of old money opulence. Generational wealth, inflexible traditions, and cold marble surfaces everywhere you looked. Marcus's mother, Victoria Sterling, greeted us at the grand entrance wearing an ivory pantsuit and 3 strands of pearls. Her eyes immediately assessed my dress with thinly veiled disapproval. "Elena," she stated flatly. "How vivid." "Thank you, Victoria," I replied, smiling genuinely. I decided it was time to stop hiding. Marcus's father, Richard Sterling, occupied the library clutching his signature single malt scotch. He acknowledged us with a curt nod of dismissal. Elena had dressed for battle, but what the Sterlings didn't know was that she'd armed herself with something far more powerful than a red dress. She had evidence, witnesses, and a plan that would shatter their perfect facade. Brunch was served precisely at noon in their formal dining room. Poached salmon, asparagus, roasted potatoes, everything prepared by their private chef and presented by their silent staff. I'd always felt like an intruder at this table, observing them discuss people I'd never met, destinations I'd never visited, business deals I couldn't comprehend. Today felt radically different. Today I absorbed every syllable. Richard discussed the new resort development. "The Vandermeer partnership is progressing excellently," he announced. "Marcus, you've executed this flawlessly. This will elevate Sterling Properties to unprecedented levels." "Thank you, Father," Marcus replied, consuming wine considerably faster than usual. Victoria added pointedly, "Naturally, reputation matters tremendously in these arrangements. The Vandermeer family maintains century-old traditions. They value presentation above everything." "Speaking of which," Richard interjected, turning toward Marcus, "I understand Vivian Vandermeer has been extremely engaged in this project." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "She's been helpful. She possesses extensive knowledge about luxury resort management." "Remarkable woman," his father continued. "Intelligent, accomplished. Impressive pedigree." I carefully cut my salmon, chewed methodically. Vivian Vandermeer. The name appearing repeatedly on our credit card statements. The name connected to those boutique hotel charges. Victoria smiled with calculated precision. "The kind of woman who understands our world instinctively." That's when I placed my sterling silver fork down deliberately. The metallic sound against fine china commanded everyone's attention. I stood gracefully. 6 pairs of eyes fixed on me. "Marcus," I said, voice steady and crystalline, "I have a question for you." He blinked rapidly. "Now? Here." "Yes. Now. Here." I looked directly at him, unflinching. "When exactly did you remove your wedding ring?" The room became a vacuum. Completely, utterly silent. Marcus's face drained of color. His hand instinctively moved to his bare left ring finger. Empty. It had been empty for months. Naturally, I'd noticed. He stammered helplessly. "Was it before or after you began your affair with Vivian Vandermeer?" I asked calmly. Victoria gasped audibly. Richard's fork clattered against his plate. "Elena," Marcus whispered, his voice strangled. "What are you?" "I'm asking a straightforward question," I interrupted. "A simple inquiry. When did you decide our marriage was finished? Was it before you spent $4,000 on jewelry I never received? Or after you reserved the penthouse suite at the Greenwich Hotel? Multiple times." Marcus's sister, Catherine, who'd remained silent until this moment, stared at her brother with unmistakable horror. "You overheard that conversation?" Marcus whispered, defeated. "I heard everything," I confirmed. "And you know what struck me most profoundly? You were absolutely correct. I am a burden to you, to this family, to this lifestyle that was never authentically mine. So I'm removing that burden permanently." I walked around the table slowly, my crimson dress brilliant against the room's muted palette. "I'm filing for divorce," I announced clearly. "My attorney will contact you tomorrow morning. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't come to the penthouse. I'll be gone before you return tonight." As Elena walked toward the door, Marcus stood frozen, but someone else in that room had been waiting for this moment, and they were about to hand Elena the evidence that would destroy Marcus completely. "Elena, wait." Marcus stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly. "We need to discuss this privately." "No," I stated firmly. "We don't. We're finished discussing anything. We've been finished for considerably longer than you had the courage to acknowledge." I collected my clutch from the entrance table. Behind me, controlled chaos erupted. Marcus's voice pleading. Victoria's shocked exclamations. Richard demanding explanations. I walked into the afternoon sunlight and summoned a car service from my phone. I waited at the estate's entrance gates, breathing deeply, feeling the psychological weight I'd carried for 6 years finally lifting. The car arrived within 12 minutes. I slid into the back seat. "Where to?" the driver asked professionally. "The Plaza Hotel," I said decisively. "Manhattan." As we departed, I glanced back once. Through the illuminated windows, I could see Marcus standing in the doorway, his silhouette frozen, watching me leave, watching his carefully constructed world crumble. I smiled and faced forward. The journey to Manhattan required an hour. I spent it staring out the window, watching the Hamptons blur into suburbs, then into the city. My phone started vibrating 23 minutes into the drive. "Marcus." I declined immediately. It rang again. Declined again. I powered it off completely. The Plaza Hotel held special memories. I'd contributed interior design consultation there years ago, before Marcus. The manager, Sophia, recognized me instantly when I entered the lobby wearing my crimson dress with no luggage except my clutch. "Mrs. Sterling," she greeted warmly, then noticed my expression. "A room, please. Something quiet. High floor. With good natural light." She didn't ask unnecessary questions. She provided a key to a room on the 31st floor. It was elegant, minimal, anonymous. Perfect for what I needed. I sat on the immaculate bed and reactivated my phone. 24 missed calls. 17 text messages. I opened them systematically. "Marcus, Elena, please. Let me explain properly." "Marcus, this is irrational. Return home." "Marcus, you're overreacting dramatically." "Marcus, my parents are extremely upset. You humiliated us publicly." I nearly laughed at that final message. I'd humiliated them. Not him with his adultery. Not them with their calculated cruelty. Me. There was one message from Catherine. "I'm genuinely sorry. I didn't know about any of this. Call me if you need anything at all." I saved that one. Deleted all the others. I called Miranda immediately. She answered on the first ring. "How did the confrontation proceed?" she asked with barely contained anticipation. I told him everything. In front of his entire family. At Sunday brunch. Miranda actually laughed. A genuine delighted sound. "Elena Morrison, I'm discovering I genuinely like this version of you. Can we initiate the paperwork tomorrow?" "I actually started it Friday afternoon," she admitted. "I had a strong intuition. Come to my office at 9 a.m. Bring everything you have." That night, Elena slept peacefully for the first time in years. But she didn't know that Marcus was already planning his counterattack, or that someone close to him was secretly gathering evidence that would ensure he'd lose everything. Monday morning arrived with brilliant sunshine streaming through my hotel windows. I dressed in comfortable jeans and an emerald sweater. My own clothes, my authentic style. I met Miranda at her Midtown office at precisely 9 a.m. She had fresh coffee waiting, prepared exactly how I preferred it. "Tell me everything systematically," she instructed, pen poised. I did. I explained the overheard phone conversation, the financial evidence I discovered, the hotel charges, the jewelry purchases, the business partner Vivian Vandermeer. Miranda documented everything meticulously, her legal mind already constructing our strategy. The Vandermeer Group. That's the resort development partnership? Correct. They're collaborating with Sterling Properties. Vivian serves as their family liaison, and he's having an affair with her. Miranda smiled, but it contained no warmth. It was purely strategic. So he's having an affair with a business partner, utilizing marital funds to support that affair, and the affair is intrinsically connected to a major business transaction. Elena, this significantly strengthens our position. She leaned forward intently. New York operates under equitable distribution laws. That means marital property gets divided fairly, not necessarily equally. But when one spouse commits adultery and uses marital funds to facilitate that adultery, the calculations change dramatically. We can argue for considerably more than half. I don't want more than half, I clarified. I want what's fair. What I earned. What I sacrificed for him. What did you sacrifice? Miranda asked pointedly. I considered carefully. My career trajectory. I was building a reputation as an interior designer. Sustainable design. Residential spaces with character. Then Marcus suggested his wife shouldn't work so intensively. Said we should prioritize his career advancement. I paused everything. For how long? 6 years. Since our wedding. Miranda documented that carefully. Any other sacrifices? I managed everything domestic. Planning networking events for his business contacts. Decorating our penthouse. Coordinating his social calendar. Managing his parents' impossible expectations. I paused, the realization hitting me fresh. I became someone I didn't recognize. And now I want my life back. Miranda nodded with conviction. Then we'll reclaim it. We spent 4 hours examining everything systematically. She created copies of bank statements, screenshots of hotel charges, photographs I'd located on Marcus's laptop showing him with Vivian at business dinners that appeared far too intimate to be professional. She documented everything with legal precision. He'll attempt to negotiate, she predicted confidently. Men like Marcus Sterling detest public scandals. He'll offer a settlement to maintain privacy. I don't care about privacy, I stated firmly. I care about justice. Excellent, because we're going to secure both. I departed Miranda's office feeling significantly stronger. I walked back to the hotel, but the room felt impermanent. I needed something more stable. I retrieved my laptop and began searching for apartments. Something in Brooklyn perhaps. Somewhere with abundant natural light. Somewhere I could work professionally again. My phone rang. Not Marcus this time. His mother, Victoria. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity prevailed. Mrs. Sterling, I answered neutrally. Elena. Her voice could freeze water. This behavior is absolutely unacceptable. What Victoria didn't know was that her own daughter had already decided whose side she was on, and the evidence Catherine was about to provide would ensure Marcus lost everything, including the empire his family had spent generations building. Which behavior specifically? I asked Victoria calmly. Leaving your son? Or exposing his infidelity? You humiliated our entire family publicly. No, I corrected firmly. Marcus accomplished that himself. I simply revealed the truth. We can discuss this rationally like civilized adults. Come to the estate. We'll negotiate. There's nothing to negotiate. My attorney will contact you. Your attorney? She sounded genuinely offended by the concept. Elena, you don't require legal representation. We can resolve this privately, within the family. That's precisely why I require an attorney, Victoria. Goodbye. I disconnected. My hands trembled slightly. Not from fear but from empowerment. That afternoon, I returned to our penthouse. Marcus's penthouse, technically. It was titled in his name exclusively. But I had belongings there. My belongings. I brought boxes, packing tape, determination. The doorman, Carlos, looked uncomfortable when I entered. Mrs. Sterling. Carlos, I'm simply collecting my personal belongings. I'll be finished within 2 hours. He nodded, visibly relieved he didn't need to make a difficult decision. The penthouse appeared exactly as I'd left it. Coffee cup in the sink. Sunday's newspaper on the marble counter. But everything felt different now, like a stage set for a life that had never been authentic. I packed methodically. My clothes. My books. My laptop and professional files. My grandmother's handmade quilt. Photographs of my parents, both deceased now, but forever present in my heart. My sketchbooks. My drafting tools from architecture school. I left Marcus's possessions untouched completely. I was loading the final box when the door opened unexpectedly. Marcus stood there, disheveled. Rumpled designer suit. Dark shadows under bloodshot eyes. He saw the boxes and something in his expression collapsed. "Elena, please. Let's talk reasonably." "No. 5 minutes. That's all I'm requesting." "You don't get to request anything from me anymore," I said, lifting a box. "You forfeited that privilege when you decided I was a burden and began sleeping with someone else." "I made a terrible mistake," he said desperately. "With Vivian. It was foolish. It's finished now. I don't care if it's finished. I care that it occurred. I care that you used our money. I care that you lied to me daily for months. I care that you told your parents I was embarrassing, while I was upstairs in this penthouse planning events for your clients and pretending to be content. I'll make everything right somehow. You can't. Some things can't be repaired, Marcus." I walked past him toward the elevator. He followed desperately. "What about the penthouse?" he asked. "Your name isn't on the deed." "I know. My attorney knows. We'll address it properly. Elena, please. I love you." The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside with my box and turned to face him directly. "No, you don't," I said clearly. "You love the concept of me. The version that didn't challenge you. That didn't have her own dreams." The elevator doors closed on Marcus's devastated face, but Elena's journey was just beginning. What she didn't know was that Marcus's driver had been documenting everything for months, and he was ready to testify about what he'd witnessed. Carlos helped me load the boxes into a taxi. I tipped him generously and provided my new contact information. "If Marcus asks where I went," I instructed, "you don't know." "I don't know," Carlos confirmed with understanding. I directed the taxi to a storage facility in Queens. Affordable, secure, climate-controlled. I rented a unit and stacked the boxes inside carefully. Everything I owned fit in a 10 by 10 space. It should have felt depressing. Instead, it felt like potential. Like possibility. Back at the hotel, I ordered room service. A cheeseburger with fries. Marcus had always criticized when I ordered burgers, claiming they weren't sophisticated enough for someone in his position. I consumed every bite with satisfaction. Then I opened my laptop and did something I hadn't done in 6 years. I opened my professional portfolio. The designs I'd created before Marcus entered my life. The wellness center. The affordable housing concept. The sustainable community space initiative. They were exceptional work. Genuinely exceptional. Why had I stopped believing in my own talent? I pulled up my old professional contacts, professors from design school, colleagues from my first firm, people I'd lost contact with when I became Mrs. Marcus Sterling. I started composing emails. "Hi, it's Elena Morrison. I know it's been a considerable time. I'm returning to interior design and would love to reconnect." By midnight, I'd sent 17 emails. By morning, I had 14 enthusiastic responses. "We wondered what happened to you. Your work was always brilliant. Let's meet for coffee." I sat in that hotel room reading those messages and wept, but they were positive tears. Relief tears. Homecoming tears. Marcus had taken 6 years of my life. But he hadn't taken everything. He hadn't taken my talent, my training, my creative vision. He hadn't taken me. And now I was reclaiming it all. Tuesday morning began with phone calls before 8 a.m. The first was from Richard Sterling, Marcus's father. "Elena, this is Richard. We need to speak immediately." "No, we don't," I replied, disconnecting. The second was from an unknown number. I let it transfer to voicemail. It was Vivian Vandermeer herself. "Hi, Elena, this is Vivian. I think we should talk directly. There are circumstances you don't understand. Please call me back." I deleted it without listening completely. The third call was from Catherine, Marcus's sister. Elena, are you all right? Marcus is completely unraveling. He's been calling me constantly. Mother and father are furious. The entire household is in chaos. I'm fine, Catherine. Better than fine, actually. Can we meet? I need to see you. Make sure you're genuinely okay. I hesitated. Catherine was Marcus's sister, but she'd always shown me kindness. She was different from the rest of the Sterlings somehow. Okay, I agreed. But not anywhere they might see us. I know a place, Catherine said. A small cafe in Brooklyn. Far from Manhattan society. What Catherine was about to reveal would change everything. She had evidence, photographs, emails, testimony, that would not only destroy Marcus's case, but potentially dismantle the entire Sterling family empire. We met at a tiny cafe in Park Slope, far from the Sterling family's usual Manhattan haunts. Catherine arrived wearing jeans and a navy sweater, her hair in a casual ponytail. She looked younger without the Sterling polish, more human. You look well, she said, embracing me warmly. Different. Genuinely happy. I am happy, I confirmed. We ordered coffee and sat by the window overlooking a tree-lined street. Catherine twisted her napkin anxiously. I didn't know, she began. About Vivian. About what Marcus was doing. If I'd known, I would have told you immediately. I believe you, Catherine. Marcus is completely falling apart. He keeps insisting he can fix this somehow. Father is furious because the Vandermeer partnership might be jeopardized. Mother is angry because you embarrassed them. Nobody is discussing how Marcus hurt you. That sounds entirely accurate. Catherine looked at me carefully. Are you genuinely proceeding with the divorce? Absolutely. Good. She said it with conviction. You deserve significantly better. You always did. I watched Marcus transform after you married. He became increasingly like father, colder, more obsessed with status than humanity. You tried so hard to fit in, but you were never going to satisfy their expectations because their expectations were fundamentally wrong. Why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. Because I'm exhausted from watching my family treat people like assets, like things to be managed strategically. She paused meaningfully. And because I have something you might want. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through photographs. Then she turned it to show me. Photos of Marcus and Vivian at restaurants, getting into cars together. One of them kissing outside a boutique hotel. When did you take these? I asked, stunned. I didn't. Marcus's driver did. James. He's worked for our family for years. He's loyal to the family business, but he genuinely likes you. He was deeply uncomfortable with what was happening. He started documenting it systematically just in case. I stared at the photographs. Clear, undeniable evidence of the affair. Why would James do this? I whispered. Because you were always kind to him. You asked about his daughters, remembered their names and interests. You treated him like a human being, not a servant. That matters to people, Elena. You matter to people. I took a steadying breath. Can you send these to me? Already done. I'll text you James's contact information too. He'll testify if you need him to. Catherine, why are you doing this? He's your brother. Because what he did was fundamentally wrong. And because I don't want to be the kind of person who protects someone simply because we share DNA. I want to be better than that. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand firmly. You're going to be okay. More than okay. You're going to be extraordinary. After coffee, I went directly to Miranda's office. She examined the photographs and smiled that lawyer smile again, strategic, calculated, victorious. With this evidence, Elena's case became airtight. But Marcus wasn't going down without a fight, and his next move would force Elena to make a choice. Settle quietly and quickly, or go to court and expose every dark secret the Sterling family had buried for generations. This is perfect, Miranda said, studying the photographs methodically. These are dated and time-stamped. They show a clear pattern of deception. And you have a witness willing to testify, James, the driver. She looked up at me with satisfaction. Elena, you're going to walk away from this marriage with everything you deserve. What happens next? I asked. I file the divorce petition tomorrow. We cite adultery, provide this evidence, and request equitable distribution of all marital assets. That includes the penthouse, investment accounts, and his stake in the resort development project. The resort project? I was confused. If he started working on it during your marriage using marital time and resources, you're entitled to a portion. Especially since his affair with Vivian is directly connected to that business deal. It creates conflicts of interest. We can argue that marital assets were used to benefit his personal relationship. How long will this take? Depends on whether he fights. If he agrees to settle, a few months. If he contests everything, potentially a year or more. But with this evidence, I don't think he'll want a trial. Too public. Too damaging. That afternoon, I began apartment hunting. I viewed 7 places in Brooklyn. Too small. Too expensive. Too dark. Wrong neighborhood. Strange smell. Noisy street. The 8th one was perfect. Prospect Heights, 5th floor walk-up. 2 bedrooms, southern exposure. Light flooded through the windows magnificently. The floors were original hardwood, scratched but beautiful. The kitchen was compact but functional. The 2nd bedroom was ideal for a home office and design studio. I'll take it, I told the landlord immediately. Don't you want to consider it? He asked, surprised. No. I'm certain. I signed the lease that day. Move-in date Friday. 3 days away. Wednesday morning, Miranda filed the divorce petition. By afternoon, Marcus's attorney had called. He wants to talk, Miranda informed me. Directly to you. No lawyers present. No, I said firmly. That's what I told them. They're threatening to contest everything. Claim you're being unreasonable and vindictive. Let them contest. We have photographs. We have witnesses. That's exactly what I said, Miranda replied with satisfaction. Thursday, I started receiving messages from mutual friends, people we'd socialized with as a couple. You should work it out. Marriage is challenging. Think of his career and reputation. This seems impulsive and emotional. I blocked them systematically. They weren't my friends. They'd never been my friends. But some people surprised me positively. An old college friend, Sophie, called unexpectedly. I heard what happened. Are you okay? I'm genuinely good, Sophie. Need help moving this weekend? Actually, yes. That would be wonderful. Sophie arrived Friday morning with her partner and a rental van. We loaded everything from the storage unit. My boxes of books, my clothes, my drafting table that I'd kept all these years folded and preserved. The new apartment echoed when we entered. Empty, clean, full of potential. We spent the day unpacking systematically. Sophie hung curtains. Her partner assembled my bed frame. Saturday morning, I woke in my own bed, in my own apartment, in my own life. Sunlight streamed through the windows brilliantly. I made coffee in my compact kitchen. I sat at my drafting table in comfortable clothes, sweatpants and an old t-shirt. I drew for 7 hours straight. New designs, fresh concepts. Everything I've been holding inside for 6 years poured onto the paper like water breaking through a dam. My phone rang around noon. Miranda. Marcus's attorney called. They want to settle immediately. Already. I was surprised. Apparently, the photographs scared them. And there's something else significant. What? Vivian Vandermeer discovered Marcus was still married. She thought he was divorced. She's furious. She pulled out of the resort deal entirely. The Vandermeer Group is withdrawing their complete investment. What does that mean? I asked. It means the resort project is dead. It means Marcus's biggest deal just collapsed. And it means he's desperate to settle this divorce before it affects his other business relationships. His reputation is taking substantial damage. Good, I said simply. They're offering you the penthouse and $3 million. I considered it carefully. The penthouse was worth $5 million. Our investment accounts held another $4 million. The resort project, now dead, had been valued at $12 million. No, I said decisively. I want half of everything. The penthouse is worth $5 million. I want $2.5 million for my share. I want half the investments. That's $2 million. And I want compensation for career losses. Another $1 million. That's $5.5 million total. Miranda laughed. You're learning quickly. I'll counter with that figure. Sunday, I attended a gallery opening in Chelsea. One of my emails had been to Dr. Janet Kim, my former professor, who'd invited me to this exhibition. The gallery showcased architectural photography, buildings as art. I stood before a photograph of a community center in Detroit. Beautiful, functional, serving its neighborhood with grace. "That could be yours," a voice said beside me. I turned. A man, perhaps 38, with thoughtful eyes and a camera around his neck. "I'm a photographer," he said. "Jordan Hayes. I took that photograph." "It's beautiful," I said. "The building, I mean. The architect is brilliant." She focused on community need over ego. "That's rare in this profession." "I'm an architect," I said. "Or I was. Or I am again. I'm still figuring it out." He smiled warmly. "Which is it?" "I'm Elena Morrison." I took a break. "Now I'm back." "Well, welcome back, Elena Morrison." He handed me a business card. "If you ever need architectural photography, contact me. I prefer working with people who care about the right things." I took the card. Our hands touched briefly. Nothing dramatic, just a moment of human connection. A reminder that there were good people in the world. People who cared about meaningful work, about purpose, about creating things that mattered. 6 months later, Elena had her own thriving interior design practice. The divorce settlement gave her the freedom to pursue projects she believed in. Marcus's business empire crumbled slowly under the weight of his scandals. And Elena? She was designing the community center she'd always dreamed of, this time on her own terms. She was finally completely gloriously free.